when it comes to metal bands, there are some that just easily become the most anticipated releases, based solely on the names involved. One of them happens to be Hypocrisy, and one of them happens to be coming up shortly. End of Disclosure happens to be the latest Hypocrisy album that's due out. The group formed back in 1988 under the name Sedition, but in 1990 changed it over to Hypocrisy. Sedition was a solo project by Peter Tägtgren of Sweden. Originally a death metal band, they eventually shifted over to melodic death, I believe after the fourth chapter, I believe was the name of the album. Since 1992, they've put out 12 different albums, a slew of EPs and splits over the years. They've been a highly influential group among many metal bands, death metal, melodic death metal as well. Even to this day, the impact of what Hypocrisy brings to the table can be felt. They used to be a pretty extensive group, but right now they're only a three-piece. Peter Tägtgren handling keyboards, vocals, and guitars, while Michael Hedlund handles bass, former member of The Abyss. And I'm not sure if I'm going to say this right, but Horg, H-O-R-G-H, handles the drums, and some of you may know him from Immortal. ATaste of Extreme Divinity was the last album. That one actually brought out a lot of different people. Those who liked the death metal sound more than the melodic death. It kind of mixed the two together, and it was a very well-received album. So, of course, End of Disclosure kind of brings the two together. Kind of. End of Disclosure is the brand new album. It's due out through Nuclear Blast Records. It keeps with more of a political theme than the group's recent science fiction theme. And it can be felt on many different tracks, more so than others. It does seem like there's a bit of a sci-fi touch to some of the songs, but it's more of a, not cover-up, but a conspiracy theory kind of album. But, you know what? Theme aside, the audio to it is actually pretty good, and the music is about the same as usual. It's a pretty digital album. It's got a very tight sound, and the music itself is very thick, especially with the keyboards. The keyboards really do make a huge impact. The bass is pretty rich. It's pretty deep in the... it's got a deep sound. It's pretty obvious in the mix. You can pick it up really like that. It works very well with the somewhat sharper guitars. The distortion on the guitars is a little lower too, and it sounds pretty good, but it's got a bit of a higher pitch. How to put it? It's got a decent... best way to sum it up. Swedish death metal has a specific sound to the guitars. There's like Dismember, bands like that. It's got a bit of a sharpness to it, but it has a low distortion, a low tone, if you will. And that really works with the bass in the album, and especially the bass kicks. The bass kicks from the drum kit are thunderous. You can feel these easily. And the snares have a really tight snap to them, but they're lower volume, they're kind of pushed back in the mix. The cymbals, they have a decent sound to them. They fill the music very well. And they are pretty loud, but not to the point where they become obnoxious in any way. And of course, the vocals here, they actually mix gutturals with that higher rasp approach that Peter Tägtgren is so well known for, especially in Hypocrisy. There's actually a good number of tracks where the main focus is simply the guttural vocals, and it sounds pretty good. Overall, there's 9 songs. There's a decent variety, decent mixture of old death metal influence with the new melodic death metal sound. And there's plenty of songs that actually stick out. The more modern stuff is very Hypocrisy, melodic death metal, typical kind of stuff. Like End of Disclosure. This is the first single off the album. They did a music video for it. I haven't seen it yet, but I hear it's good. I hear good things. It's a very slow-paced song. Maybe a little less than mid-pace. It's like in between the two, what you would expect from both of them. It's very catchy, though, and very rich in atmosphere. The keyboards really play a pivotal role in this song. It does, especially in the chorus, pick up some intensity, and that's thanks largely to the keyboards and some of the simpler riffs that appear, and the distortion that the guitars have. The bass really adds that necessary edge to really hit the listener well. The chorus is really thick, it's really strong, especially in the riffs, as I said. The solo, though, is a little simple. The song has a decent amount of energy. It's not really that enthusiastic a song, really. It's got a very dismal atmosphere to it. That's one thing that I liked about it. It's not necessarily melancholic, but you could feel despair, a lack of hope. Excuse me, allergies. And it's actually a pretty good song. I like it. It's a great way to kick off the album. And honestly, it's one of my favorite songs off of it. More so than some of the others, but what are you going to do? The others are still pretty good. Such as The Eye. This is another tight, rich track. Another really atmospheric one. Really infectious. And this time it's not necessarily the keyboards that stick out, it's the drumming that really sticks out. It fills the music very well, and it keeps the intensity going a little more than some of the other songs would have. This one is actually very energetic, and it has a hook-driven chorus. I mean, there's a lot of hooks going at work in that area, and it's a very memorable song. It's not really that complex. Plus, it also has some narrative samples, and that pushes the conspiracy theory element. Many of them just... I believe the audio samples have something to do with poisoning the food supply and kind of like weeding out the lower class and everything like that. That's what the audio samples seem to bring to the table, at least for me, because one of the main issues is the audio samples in this song, and I believe there were on others, but they're so low, sometimes they get lost in the mix, depending on how intense and intricate the music actually becomes. But again, they do push the conspiracy angle, more so what you would expect when you hear about the Bilderbergs. And it's actually a very interesting song. It's also easily one of the most engaging tracks on the album. I really love this one, next to End of Disclosure. In fact, I might actually enjoy that one maybe a little more than End of Disclosure. I'd say they're both on par. They both kind of share the same modern hypocrisy traits. And that, honestly, these songs that have that modern hypocrisy trait, the kind that you would expect on The Arrival or Virus, these actually are very minimal. The rest, it's like a whole other beast in a way. United We Fall. This is one of the earliest songs that show some of the traces of early hypocrisy. It's got some very intricate riffs. It's commonplace more with the Swedish death metal approach than anything. And again, that does throw back to the early Hypocrisy sound. There's a marching atmosphere, thanks largely to the drums, but it's a very punishing track in general. You walk out of it feeling a little, not crippled, but a little assaulted, in a way. It's a mid-paced track. The chorus... This one, it does blend the two worlds together. It does have more of a modern melodic death metal touch to the chorus compared to some of the dismal, slower death metal of the main verses and bridges. This one largely has gutturals going on, but there are some rasps in the background that sound really good. And the two mix together very well. I mean, this has a good deal of variety to it. It mixes the best of both worlds, and it shows what Hypocrisy can do as they continue to try and mesh the two worlds together with the new albums that come out. Hell Is Where I Stay is another good one. This is easily one of the most unique tracks. This one, actually, when I say most unique, I mean, doesn't quite come off like a Hypocrisy track. It's actually very Morbid Angel-esque. The more I listened to it, it sounded... I kept picking up on the Covenant album, or most notably the song God of Emptiness. Something like that. That's what I picked up while I was listening to it. It has a very strong attitude thanks to the deeper bass. It's a very dismal song. Again, another one that just seems hopeless and helpless. It's not a complex song. It's got plenty of simple riffs and drums. It works very well. It's not enthusiastic in any way, but the riffs and the drumming really do push the song along. It's not like the keyboards or the bass, like some other songs that were going on. But overall, these actually are an interesting representation of what Hypocrisy is going for now. And I actually found it really engaging, but at the same time, they're not the most engaging of all the songs at times. Some of the slower death metal material, it's good, don't get me wrong. I really enjoyed those two songs, and many others. Just after a while, I don't know, it's got a good bite, but the music, if you're a long-time Hypocrisy fan, chances are you're going to get a little bored of the music on this album, but not to the point that you're not going to want to listen to it. Now, you're going to come back to this time and time again. There's plenty of enjoyable songs. Some you may get a little bored of before others, but you'll still come back to it. Give it time, you will enjoy the songs again. You will come back to it. They are strong, they're pretty rich, they're atmospheric. This is a very dismal album, despite some of the energetic and enthusiastic passages. The songs that really do seem to lose steam and you may very well end up getting a little bored of after a few spins, but like I say, you'll come back to them. It's more towards the end, and that's when the album does seem to switch over to more death metal territory. The music can be a little bland at times, and too simplistic. But, I mean, again, just, if you give it time, it's good. I've had this album for quite a while, and I listened to it a few times. I got kind of bored of the end of the album a little bit, and then I came back to it a week later. I'm like, you know what, this is actually still pretty good. So that's kind of what you should expect about it. Just, if you start falling out of it, just give it a little more time. As I said, it does blend a lot of the early and modern Hypocrisy sounds very well. If you like the Taste of Extreme Divinity, you're really going to like this album. There's no reason to bypass this for any specific reason. Atmosphere is really helpful. Sometimes actually saves a song in the long run. But overall, this is a solid album. If you're a Hypocrisy fan in any way, modern or early Hypocrisy, you're going to enjoy this album. It's definitely worth picking up. Maybe not day one. It depends how into Hypocrisy and Peter Tägtgren you are. Out of a 10, I'm going to give it an 8. It's a solid effort. It's got plenty of enjoyable songs, as I said. You're going to come back to it time and time again. When the energy is there, it really is infectious. I mean, the energy will push itself onto you, and then the dismal songs really do kind of contradict it, but not in a bad way. You know, it's kind of like sort of an anthem to kind of fight back, I guess you would say, given the conspiracy theory style lyrics that are abound. So, if you've never heard of Hypocrisy, this is definitely an album that you should jump into and check out. Check out the music video for End of Disclosure. It's out there. There's probably going to be other songs available online soon. You're going to be able to hear it soon, I'm sure. Usually, when it comes to bands like on Nuclear Blast, they usually stream the album closer to the release date. And the release date from this point on is coming up pretty close. Actually, I think it's next week that it drops, so keep an eye out if you're unsure. Give it a spin. 8 out of 10. Pretty good, solid, atmospheric effort. I recommend it.